Everybody knows Mike Lantier. Adam Gabzer is the co-chair of our Belvedere Block Captain program, and Jason Wu, you all know, he's been here several times. Elaine Wilkinson. Elaine, what exactly is your title? I know it's the whole county of Marin, but...
Thank you. It's Marin County's Emergency Preparedness Coordinator.
Good. That's why I can't remember. Leah Curtis is the Southern Marin counterpart. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I manage the neighborhood response group program.
Good. Welcome. Thank you for coming. And Holly Thier, you all know. How are you?
Hello, everybody.
Okay. And Jamie, everybody knows Jamie. Jamie's been here forever like I have. So, given those kind of screwy introductions, we will, Lori, do you want to explain this new system now?
I would love to explain this new system. And so we do need to use our microphones as much as we can because this is going through the audio streaming. Now that we are back in person, we are going to be live streaming and recording all in-person meetings. So there's a link on the Town of Tiburon website. So people may have clicked on the link and could be watching this. This will also be archived on the town website. So in the future, if people wanted to go back and watch this meeting, they could do so. And these recordings will take the place of our meeting minutes because this is the most accurate depiction of this meeting that we could possibly have. So
that applies now to city council minutes, for
the
instance?
Tiburon City Council meetings are now, this is their minutes, except for action items, which are documented in writing, and we're going to follow the same format. So if we had an action item, we would have had that documented. So I'll send out meeting minutes that will have documentation of action items, as well as the link to view the minutes.
So
or
if we
view
want
the.
to review minutes, we go on the link
And you can watch the recording, and you can fast forward to whatever part you want.
All right.
The cameras?
And there are cameras, so
Yeah.
there's a camera on the whole room right now, and if I want, I can flip it over to be just Dr. Cromwell, just our presenter.
Wow.
And when the time comes, Mike, I'm going to ask you to go up to the presenter's table.
Really?
Really?
That's a surprise to me if I'm operating in PowerPoint.
I'm going to put the spotlight on you.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Well, I'm going to show an internet map. So I need the Wi-Fi password, or can I just use this for that? I have a PowerPoint here. I'm excited about it. I'm fired up. We can get right into it. Whatever you want.
Well, let's.
I'm going to get you the Wi-Fi password. It's just going to take me a minute.
Well, why don't we don't, so we know what we're going to do with minutes from now, and we're going to, each of us can go on. We will not have printed minutes from now on to review. So we should go ahead to the open forum. This is an opportunity for anyone in the audience who would like to address this group to have a minute to do that. And I don't see anybody that applies to, as usual. So we will move ahead then with our first presentation. Mike Lantier, you all know, is our Tiburon Fire Protection District, has been here for quite a while. I mean, years. How many years?
6 years in July.
Wow.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm excited.
Stay here.
And you're going to talk to us about fire severity hazard mapping conundrum.
Yes.
Sounds very complex.
Well, it's a long one, so I kind of shortened it on my PowerPoint, but it does involve CAL FIRE, and of course they are the hit show Fire Country, so I couldn't go without adding that logo. But if everyone here is aware of what a fire severity zone is, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the differences between a state responsibility area and a local responsibility area. And we're going to talk about these maps that come out that give us guidance on where a very high fire severity zone is versus a high versus a moderate. And so moving that forward, what is FRAP? And this is an assessment portion of CAL FIRE. So it's the Fire and Resource Assessment Program given to the authorities given by CAL FIRE, Office of State Fire Marshal. They're the ones that produce the data and the scientific modeling of fire behavior in terms of what a fire severity zone would be. And that the California law that requires these FHSZs include the California Public Resources Code 4201 through 4204, which was created in 2018. We'll talk about that. California Code of Regulations, Title 14, Section 1280, that was created back in 1985. And of course, the California Government Codes 51, 175 through 51189, which was created back in 2005, went into effect around 2006. This was where these zones were born, these severity zones in California, because we were responding to a lot more wildfire. Clearly have been since 2017, the firestorms we all are aware of, over $1 billion damage. They got a little too close to home here in Marin. So what the state has been tasked to do through state law is to create these zones and these maps. And so when we get into these zones, I've tried to make it very color coordinated for you. Very high is in red, that's not so good. High is orange or concerning, and yellow would be moderate, or in my case, mellow is yellow. That's a joke, okay. But as we get into this, there's a difference between the state responsibility area and a local responsibility area. And oftentimes in the state, everyone thinks of cities or counties, or a city and county like San Francisco, where there's municipality boundaries. But you'll notice in this definition, or a district responsible for fire protection within a very high fire severity zone. And so we are a local responsibility area here in Tiburon, and we have been since 1941. So we became a special district in 1941, so our district boundary has always been there. And I mention this because Angel Island, as much as it's in our sphere of influence with Tiburon Fire, it is a state park. So we had a little round table with CAL FIRE and Marin County Fire on who gets to go over there. Well, we're the first closest entity, so we've always been going to Angel Island, but it is a state park, so it is considered SRA by us. They beg to differ, but anyhow, the reason, please.
When that fire that burned half of Angel Island, what, 7 years ago, was that mostly Tiburon?
Well, it began with Tiburon, a little bit of southern Marin, and then all the southern region came down. CAL FIRE didn't get there till quite a bit later. But no, I think it was the next day. And it wasn't because of lack of response time. I think it was more about trying to figure out whose area is this. And of course, it is an island, so Battalion Chief Ed Lynch was the incident commander on that. He had a pretty good idea of where it was going and what it was doing, and we were already starting to push engines over in the clamshell, the actual piece of equipment that takes large items to the island, of course, putting crews on the Angel Island ferry and moving them over. And we were just going to basically get around it because it's an island. It's not going to necessarily go anywhere. We do now. Well, actually, technically, we have an ambulance. So CAL FIRE hasn't yet. They've been talking about it, but Marin County will at times bring one down if they're doing some training. So they were just over there about a month ago doing some burns, and so they thought it was prudent to bring over a Type 3, which was a smart idea. So it's, again, we're having these conversations because Tiburon Fire is always looked to as the primary because we're the closest unit, and we have the boat. So it's an interesting situation where we'll be happy to go over and do what we need to do in exigent circumstances, but from an administrative function, we need to kind of get this more clear. So when I say this, that when the state publishes maps, Marin Maps tends to have they have a tendency to just accept that as what it is. The state must be right. And it's not that they're wrong, it's just there's a part of Marin that we took umbrage with. And that was back during Ron Varney's time, right around 2007, 2008. So I don't want to go into too much detail into the government code, but this is the defining part of the code that talks about local agencies, right? The local responsibility area, that's us. And that is, we shall designate by ordinance very high. We don't have any very high. We never have had it in the Tiburon Peninsula, and that's amazing. That's a good thing. And we have 120 days after the recommendation from the state if we had it as very high, and I will let you know that Sausalito, Mill Valley, some parts of West County, they've got that high, very high and high designation. So they have an obligation to take those and respond within 120 days, the recommendations, and obviously go ahead and manage that risk and that situation. So with us, and you'll see subsection C, a local agency may at its discretion include areas within the jurisdiction of the local agency. not identified as very high hazard severity zones by the director, that's the CAL FIRE director, as very high fire severity zone, following a finding supported by substantial evidence in the record that requirements of this government section 51182 are necessary and effective for fire protection within the areas. That means that we also, we're just going to respond, right? We're not, this is, we can take those recommendations or not, because we're the local. We've been this way since 1941. And so in subsection D, it says changes made by the local agency to the recommendations made by the director shall be final and shall not be rebuttable by the director. That's a big statement, and that's codified in law. So little old Tiburon has the ability, like anyone else who has their local responsibility area, the ability to say, we thank you, but if we're not in the very high, and we're only in high or moderate, we'll go ahead and handle our, we don't have to basically be held to this highest standard. You can elect to be, and some cities like Santa Rosa, for instance, they went completely very high. Sausalito considered doing it as well. And so I want to then take that very high severity zone and the severity zone mapping as a whole and compare it to WUI. What is a WUI? Wildland Urban Interface. We are full of acronyms in the fire service. We love them. We can't get away from them. But a WUI area is different than a severity zone because severity zone takes into all of the topographical, geographical, climatic instances of that area, plus the fuel load, moisture, et cetera. With WUI, we actually add the demographic into it, the structures, the people, the infrastructure that's involved. So we prefer to look at WUI as WUI and not as a severity zone. But we've been here on the peninsula, especially in the city of Belvedere, since the late 1800s. So people have occupied this area. This isn't just some open space like Paradise or other parts of unincorporated Sierra Nevadas, whether it's central, south, or north. We're protecting structures, land, people, and not in that same order, people first, right? But I want to say that this is very important to us because when we get into our WUI map, this last subsection G is local agency shall post a notice at the office of the county recorder, county assessor, county planning, identifying the location of the map that we use. And that's our WUI map, which is right here. And you'll notice the date on that is October 31st, 2022. We adopted this in our last ordinance, Ordinance 131. And the only difference between this map and the one in 2007 that Ron Barney has put together was that we took Paradise Cay out of the WUI. And I'll tell you why. Master plan community, right? The Mosley family, they designed that. It was built out of the water, so it's not necessarily a wildland which met the urban interface. It was always a master planned community and still is today, right, Jamie? Yes. Proud of it. So we decided to do that, and as time goes on, and maybe development does come into these unincorporated, unirrigated, unmaintained areas, some of which are town property, some of which are private property. Those have an effect on, you can't see it with this map because it's just too small, but I do invite you to go to tiburonfire.org /WUI map 2022. That's our link. This is the map we're using, and we've adopted it, but it's going to change. And I'll tell you why it's going to change, because 2022 is a big year, and it's a big year for CAL FIRE. This is where the conundrum begins. The director shall periodically review the areas in the state identified as very high hazard severity zones pursuant to this chapter, and as necessary shall make recommendations relative to a very high fire hazard severity zone. This review shall coincide with the review of state responsibility area lands every 5 years, and when possible, fall within the timeframes of each county's general plan update. Any revisions of the areas included very high shall be made in accordance with sections 51-178 and 51-179. Well, 2007 until 2022, if my math is correct, that's 15 years. Oops.
I like your oops.
Yeah, and this is where I give credit where credit is due. The acting state fire marshal is a gentleman by the name of Daniel Berlant. He's a fantastic, long-time CAL FIRE employee. He's been with the state fire marshal's office for at least 15 years that I know of. He's also on the city council, I believe, in the city of Auburn. But he has basically said, listen, we understand. We've missed it a few years. And what happened was The maps that were shown and developed back in '07 were the best available at the time. It was the best science. But now we've gone 15 years, and clearly we're in a different world, not only with climate change, but technology is moving faster than we've ever seen. Just look at electric cars and, you know, electric storage systems and such. But what happened is, and you'll see in this map, if you don't mind, can I
don't. Which one am I doing?
just go to any of the interwebs?
I've got the Wi-Fi for you, for yours.
Oh, you do?
I
Okay.
do.
So give me a second here. Any questions up to this point while I stall to get on the interwebs? Got it.
Quick question.
Sure.
Mike, I guess we're in moderate.
We are going to be moderate now, and I'll show you why. At least I'm assuming to be moderate because the state always goes first when they do their mapping because they have to, by law. They have to publish these SRA maps first, and then LRA comes second. Because this is a shall do situation in this SRA, and in the LRA it's a strong should or highly recommended to, so the language is very important. And so I'm going to try to get onto this FRAP. Let's see if I can get on this. Okay, whoops. Let's go down here. And there it is, Fire and Resource Assessment Program. It's a very wonderful page. Let me get this. How do I share? Do I share this? How do I share this? How do we get off of that? Boom. Let's end this real quick. Can I get on the interwebs? Broadcast it? No? Well, there's a comparison map, and it's interactive, and I wanted to show it to you because I think you will find, hey, there we go. It just took a few moments. Very well done. They redid this whole map, and they start looking at a lot of different things, but you start going down into these severity zone maps, and I hope you can see this online as well, but get that out of the way. So now I go down, and I keep looking, and it starts to talk about, where'd you go? Learn more, access our viewer. When we get into this, this is the map, and it's a huge piece of technology. And you can see the colors are what they are. I don't have a zoom in function, but there's a comparison between this 2007 and the actual 2022, and it's a side by side, and I don't know why I can't get to it right now. Where am I? Maybe this is it. Now I know where I'm at. Okay, folks, hang on. Here comes the technologically challenged Mike Lantier. Okay. So it takes me out of the CAL FIRE website, which is fine. That happens a lot with CAL FIRE because there's so much information, and everywhere you go, this is the oopsie here. It's like, hey, listen, just so you know, this is what we have, and you understand that these are not to be used for legal purposes, technical, etc. So I understand. I hit OK. And you'll notice that we've got right down here in the very, very prominent red, orange, and yellow is the new November 21st, 2020 map. To the right, and it's all going to be scrolled by this, right? That's the 2007 in the lower right-hand corner. It shows kind of a pink, very high, orange is very light, is high, and then we've got our moderate as yellow. Yellow is mellow, right? If you look at this state, it is absolutely a different story in a matter of 15 years. Holy cow. But where does that put us in Marin? And I just need to go ahead and somehow, where do I go anyhow? How do I, here we go. I'm going to come down and try to get to Marin as best I can with just using my fingers. But it's a very interesting map. You can spend a lot of time in a deep dive here. And you'll notice as we get closer, you're starting to see my little spit of Tiburon in, oh, did it, don't do that. So, hey, there's Fresno, everyone. Hang on. If I had my mouse, I'd be flying, all right? But I don't. But you'll notice that this is back in the day. Okay, I'll try to get it in a little bit further and try to bring it into focus for you. All right, let's just kind of go to that. So this is '07 now. Orange, high. Little chunks of yellow here and there. And then the rest of the county looked okay. Still concerning. We've got, okay, we know Mount Tam is the big red spot on the top there, right? And then we've got some watershed, some, the park areas and whatnot. But then you start to go into 2022 and man, things have changed. But look at us. This is this area, if you can see my cursor here, this yellow area is actually Tiburon Fire LRA. And it was just mismarked in a map in 2007, and I've been begging since, or well, I haven't, but Ron Barney, Jessica Power, and now myself, trying to get this to change because this has an impact on people. If they see back in 2007 that they're in a high, people start getting very nervous. Moderate is not much further from that, but still, there's less concern, or I should say this, hopefully we're doing something right here. I think we are. Ever since we've been a fire district, we've been doing what's called weed abatement, vegetation management inspections, whatever you want to deem it to be. We've been out there asking people to cut their grasses, trim their cut limbs, trim up, maintain. And so I think that if this map does stay as the SRA, and with the comment I made to take us out of this, the areas that are grayed out are considered local areas, that's still us. They will also be yellow, because if you look at the 2007 local maps, those are all yellow as well. So when Ron decided to make this 2007 WUI map, which we just saw, we used red because we said red is going to get people's attention, and it should. It doesn't necessarily mean that from inside or outside of those areas, you are better off than not. What it means is that we need to be on a community-based approach, not a parcel-based approach, which means if you can do 10 parcels on a street, but you've got 20 and 10 of them don't do it, you're still susceptible. You've left an opening, right? And this is all coming from many people in the fire service, insurance industries, people who are studying this now more so than ever. And I want to just point out that we've always been community-based. We do parcel inspections, but we're also looking at neighbors, and we're trying to get neighbors to work with each other. That's what Firewise communities are about, neighbors helping neighbors. We've talked about this at length at these council meetings, and I love it because you have to look at this as not just us versus the rest of Marin, because this little red area here, if that catches on fire and the wind's coming from this direction, who's going to get it the worst? We are, and then Berkeley, right? Or vice versa. It really doesn't matter. So because we've been lowered in a color category, doesn't allow us the chance to sit back and go, okay, we've done enough. Never will that be ever said in California again. We constantly have to go out and keep doing what we're doing, and that's why my presentation today is we're in a conundrum. As much as we can use the data and the science to our advantage, it still doesn't matter until we find out where the fire's coming from, what it looks like, what the winds are, fuel moisture. There's so many factors involved that only, prevention can only do so much, and then it's suppression. And then sometimes it's so big, we got to get out of its way. Don't want to ever say that, but it's true. I never ever thought I would say that in my 20 plus years in this, is that sometimes fire's so large, and I worry that we're doing a great job in Marin County, collectively. So we're glad to be a part of it. We're doing our thing. MWPA is doing their thing. Each individual district and departments are doing their thing. But we're doing it with the idea of a community-based approach. You cannot do this one parcel at a time, right? If you try to make that work for you, forget it. You're behind the 8 ball. So my point was just to let you know that if you saw this map, I didn't want anyone to be confused, because I have gotten calls on this where people are like, wait a minute, look at this. Well, it's, things are changing, and it's going to keep changing. Climate change isn't going away. It doesn't mean that we can't be upgraded again. Who knows? But if we keep doing what we're doing with our neighbors in southern Marin, with our neighbors central Marin, and everyone in the southern, central, and even north Marin areas, we're going to be okay. I guarantee it. There's people committed to this every single day, ourselves included, to continue to fight this fight. So moderate, mellow is yellow, but guess what? Don't rest up, y'all. Let's keep going. So that really concludes my presentation, just so that if anyone ever contacts you for this, please have them call me, and I have all my information. I think you all have my information, but please forward them to us. Myself, I'm about to introduce my brand new guy, Gary Musanti, who will be standing up in the front. Come on up, Gary. Can we just segue into that? Since, well, actually, let me open up to questions.
Yeah, Mike, are you going to give classes for people to learn how to navigate this damn thing once you get it up and running?
Yeah, of course, what we can do is we can incorporate this into our Get Ready and some of our other public education efforts. But right now, this map is just closed for public comment in April. The state fire marshal has basically said he and his staff are going to respond to every single public comment in the state regarding this map. I don't know what that's going to look like. When it gets finalized, you'll be able to see this comparison still, but we still are going to have our marching orders with the colors that you see to go out and start doing our thing. From a local level in Tiburon, we do our mandatory WUI inspections, and we will do defensible space inspections in Belvedere, in Paradise Cay. Anyone who wants us to come out and assess their property will do it. So
What tools, which I think are fairly limited, you talk about community versus individual homeowners. What tools do you have to compel a homeowner who is neglecting his property as far as, fire protection?
Sure. Great question. The ordinance that we have adopted and will continue to adopt gives us a little bit of punch with it, but we don't choose to use it. We use an inspection model that will go out, we'll find a deficiency, we'll issue them a correction notice. Typically, it's 30 days. If it's exigent, we can go ahead and make that a shorter time frame. But usually, the education piece of just being on site and pointing something out, people usually take to it right away. Doesn't always happen that way. So if we don't get any compliance in 30 days, we come back, we knock on the door. If nothing's done, we're obviously going to try to make contact, whether it's face-to-face, best form of communication, face-to-face, email, or phone call. We can also leave a little door knocker, please give us a call. Usually someone has a pretty legitimate reason why they couldn't do it, and we'll work with people on that. But if they don't, they just blow us off, that's 15 days to a pre-citation letter, meaning we will cite you. We don't do that in the fire service unless we have to do that. But it's written in the ordinance that we have that ability, okay?
How frequently have you had to do that?
In this jurisdiction, 0. In my previous jurisdictions, a lot.
And it's the same problem with hoarders.
Hoarding is a different situation.
But you still have pretty limited ability to do anything about it.
Well, the problem is we're a castle state in California. You're the king of your castle. Holly, you're the queen of your castle. I'm the king of my castle. Right. Meaning that it's the least regulated occupancy of all occupancies in the state is the single-family residence, the R3. So other than not having an address, working smoke alarms, and access to your utilities, the fire code really doesn't give us much to go on. Residential code, the same. If there's dilapidation and other maintenance issues, we can probably work with our building department team and work with them on that, and we do that. But hoarding is actually more of a social, and if you don't treat the problem, the hoarding just comes back. You can clear it out time and time again. I used to do this when I was in South San Francisco. I was a code enforcement officer and fire inspector at the same time, 2 hats. Very interesting job, because I was tasked with not only making fire inspections for safety, but if people left their garbage cans out, I was the guy showing up going, hey, you gotta take these back. Well, why does the fire department care? Because there's a code. We have a standard. We have a threshold. And hoarding was it's everywhere. There's not one town in this beautiful country that doesn't have something like it. I guarantee you. And I've worked with people that you can go ahead and eliminate everything that's in that house, and it will come back eventually. It always does. You have to treat the problem, which is the person, not the things. We can keep monitoring on that, but also, if you're not cutting your weeds, right, hoarding, most of the time, if they're not taking care of their inside and they're bringing stuff in and nothing's leaving, the outside's probably falling apart as well. So we'll work with people. We'll find solutions. Marin County's full of a lot of great resources and partners. So.
Other questions for Mike?
Yes, I had one. Actually, it's more of a comment. I just wanted to thank Mike and his department for the work that they're doing. It's been amazing in Tiburon to see everyone, whether it's chipper days or the inspections that you offer, are an amazing way to reduce the fire danger. And I wanted to not let a moment pass without thanking you and your department.
Thank you very much.
Now, Mike, do you want to introduce Gary formally?
I do. Why don't you come on up under the mic? Oh, we're here. Okay. To my right, the esteemed gentleman in uniform is Gary Musanti. Comes to us most recently from the Kentfield Fire District, but has spent time in Novato and San Francisco. Gary is here to be a fire prevention specialist, and he is an expert at vegetation management, defensible space inspections. He was trained by some of the best, which is the MWPA program. He was one of their most prolific, I think is the proper term, inspectors, meaning he just went out there and went after it. So when I was looking for somebody, DJ does do vegetation stuff, DJ Heckler as well, but we're seeing a lot more housing element and construction things gearing up, so I needed to have another body. Chief Pierce was nice enough to let me look around and extended an offer to Gary, and he kindly accepted. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Gary.
Excited to be here, and I know I've met some of y'all throughout the community, and look forward to meeting you all and getting to know each of you. We talked a bit about the inspections, and so I'm happy to meet with y'all individually as your properties or as a group collectively and discuss how we can kind of make our properties and homes safer. Going over a little more in depth about the immediate zone, the intermediate zone, and the extended zone. And as someone mentioned about maybe you could have combustibles or having a hoarding issue, but we always talk about removing combustibles away from the home. That is the best practice, and I always kind of go over with somebody of what we could do better and just have how Mike was mentioning, we don't have citations or fines as of recent. It's kind of this that we can kind of engage and all collectively figure out and use me as a resource and how can we do this? And it's like I'll talk about, we'll go over each zone, just work little by little of 0 to 5 feet, removing combustibles, working a little bit at a time. I tell everybody when it comes overwhelming, let's just try the 0 zone first, the 0 to 5 feet around the perimeter of your zone, of your home, or even breaking it down if it's a huge project, breaking it down the A side, the B side, the C side, and the D side in just one section at a time to get to, where we want to be. So I'm happy to, like I said, meet with individuals at their home or as a group to discuss further of how to kind of go about this, and taking it community-based is important because if 15 people are doing an amazing job and 5 have deficiencies, that could, affect the entire neighborhood or the entire street. So that's kind of part of my job. I'm learning a lot. Mike has been teaching me. I'm very grateful and happy to be here and being part of this Tiburon and Belvedere. Looking to be here and continue my career here and start with what I know has been the defensible space and the WUI of kind of my expertise in that aspect. And Mike is teaching me little by little. So thank you very much.
Welcome. We're pleased to have you.
Gary, you're based at Station 11?
Yes, down here at headquarters.
Would they give a half of Mike's office? Or?
I am upstairs. I have a good office and space, so I have an excellent space. Yes, Station 11.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
You'll like this much better than Kentfield's.
I get a little bit of the cooler breeze too. The weather. It's amazing.
Likes it down here. So
yes. So and I'll be at the June 4th, the Sunday. Will be my next
and that's a
the next
event.
great lead into Adam.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Mike, just one question for you. Predictions for the fire season this year, which is going to start very soon if it hasn't already.
Have a seat.
And usually after a dry year, which we usually have, the fire service says, well, not much vegetation, it's very dry, so it's going to be a bad year. Then if we have a wet year like we did this year, they say a lot of vegetation, but it's not going to burn, but it's a lot of vegetation because it grew a lot, so it's going to be a bad year. What do you think this year?
Well, it is a very interesting argument on both sides. Both are trying to prove their position, but I would say right now, what I'm reading the most is we're going to be up until about June. We're going to really be dealing with some of that runoff in the Sierras. We're still going to be, the moisture levels and the actual water table in the ground is going to be very good. And correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, if you've read other things, but what I've heard is up through June, we're going to be great. July, August is when we're going to start to see the turn. The weather's going to start to get really dry, and that leads to September, October, where really kind of we've got to watch our P's and Q's. So if we get a lot of work done May, June, July, even into most of August, and we do everything we're supposed to be doing, we should be good. We'll talk about that in a few minutes with chipper days and other things that efforts are going on in Southern Marin's region too. So, but really generally they're expecting that the unusual moisture level is going to be a good thing. It does promote growth. So if you're going to go out and cut and do your stuff, do it when it's green. Don't want to do it when it's dry. But yeah, get a handle on everything now. Get your go bags ready. All the other things, it's upon us. We can't ignore it, but at the same time, conditions are moving steadily from good to not so good to concern. If that's the way to say it.
Any other questions for Mike? Okay.
All right.
So we will move ahead then with Adam Gavser. Adam, as you know, is co-chair of the Belvedere Block Captain Program.
Hello.
And he has organized an event that's going to be June 4th, right?
Yes, hello. My name is Adam Gavser. I'm the co-chair of the Belvedere Block Captain Program. We have, inspired by what Lori planned last October in McKegney Green, we're going to do a mini version of that in Belvedere. We've got Chief Wu is going to be there talking about go bags and basically just community outreach for the police. He's going to have some of his officers there, hopefully, so the community can meet them. Mike Lantier and his crew have offered to people, the staff, the barbecue. I'll be buying a bunch of burgers and dogs and everything for you guys to do. Dr. Cromwell will be teaching CPR and have some Narcan samples to distribute and teach people the importance of how to use that. We have Belvedere Community Foundation available to hand out the gas shutoff wrenches that they have purchased for the Block Captain program. And then we have City of Belvedere representatives there talking about evacuation planning, nothing solid, but just talking about plans for future evacuation planning. And also talking about coyote awareness. I know, Gary, you said you'd be there. I kind of think if you have a stack of cards, it might be good to hand out and let people know that you're happy to come give an evaluation of their home and that kind of thing. Maybe a handout would be great. I mean, it's awesome to have you guys doing the barbecue, but I also would love some community outreach from you.
We have a 10 by 20 tent going up with our logo on it, and Gary's going to man that table.
Excellent.
And we'll probably rotate through because I can only flip so many burgers, but
Good.
Adam,
Well, I'll
can you
help
tell
too.
us what time? I'm putting it on my
Yes, this is
calendar.
June 4th, Sunday, June 4th. The public is invited at 11:30 to 1:30.
Thank you.
I'm asking my block captains to get there anywhere between 10:30 and 11 for setting up. I know that someone is doing this stomp event. Stomp. What is it? Ember Stomp. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense.
What's
I'm going
Ember
to stop by and check it out and hopefully steal some ideas from you. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this event. I just want to bring the community together. And along the lines of Gary, you talking about, I thought it would be nice in the future to invite you to come talk to the block captains. As Mike was saying, neighbors helping neighbors. That's what block captains are all about. Being there to assist people prior to the emergency service responders being able to get there and taking the pressure off you guys. So I thought it might be really good for you to just come talk to the block captains themselves, and so that then they can go talk to their neighbors and get them ready for fire season. Any questions on my event?
Questions for Adam? We will
Oh, and the free
also,
barbecue. I said that, the free barbecue.
I'll add that we will have the emergency trailer there that
Yes.
day, and the newly constituted Belvedere-Tiburon Emergency Medical Response Team will be looking at the trailer and seeing what sort of equipment we have available.
So what I'd really like to ask is any groups that you have emails for, please send out email. Let people know it's not just for Belvedere. We'll take anyone who wants to come learn about this stuff. And we just really would like help getting the word out. So,
Adam, do you have a draft email or a flyer or something that we could distribute?
yeah, I just finalized it, and I'm going to
Perfect.
give it to Robert Zadnik to distribute to the Belvedere e-newsletter.
Great, so maybe you could send it to Lori and she can give it to all
Absolutely.
of us?
Absolutely.
And I want to take a moment to thank you. I know you're a volunteer. You and your husband do so much work in the community, and I really want to thank you for all your work and for doing this. It's
Thank
very
you.
important.
Thanks very much. Yes.
We're really happy to push it out on Red and Marin and through all the social media channels as well.
Excellent. All right, I'll send it to Lori, and she can get it to you.
And we'll push it out too, as much as we
Perfect.
can.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank
I'd
you.
like to just echo Holly, and I know Dr. Cromwell's done it before too, but thank you, because getting neighbors working together is no easy task, and it's so important. So thank you for all the work that you've
Just
done.
the roster maintenance alone is crazy. All right, thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next up, we have the Chipper Day.
Yeah, we're going to old business on committee updates. Chipper Day, back to Mike Lantier.
Sure, real fast. We kicked off this year's Chipperless Chipper Day. I want to be very clear. Last year, there was confusion. Chipper Day is really a national term, and that assumes that we use a chipper. We don't use a chipper at Blackie's Pasture or anywhere. Number one, they can be very technical machines. If you don't know what you're doing, you get yourself in trouble real fast. They're also very expensive to maintain. So instead, we came up with an idea where we will bring in 40-yard dumpsters, 4 to 5 at a time, and then Public Works lets me actually get on a tractor, a front loader, and when people dump their cut vegetation at Blackie's, I will pick it up and I will put it in those bins, and they were hauled off from this last Saturday's event just today, and then brought back empty so we can keep filling them because there was a bit of a pile. Our numbers were fantastic. We had 56 addresses, 52 in my district and 4 in Southern Marin, which was great. And then we had 120 loads. It means people coming, and of those, 2 or more were 32 of those 120. 3 or more were 15, 4 or more were 8, and we had 4 people come with 5 or more loads, which is great. So it's bring what you can, 9 to 4, open sharply at 9, we close sharply at 4 because we have a conditional use permit to be there. So we estimate, I'm not sure, but I'm looking at anywhere between 52 and 70 tons removed in one day. That's pretty good. So
Two last year. You had 3 Chipper Days last year.
we had 5, and we have 5 again this year. So it's always the second Saturday of the month, May through September at Blackie's, 9 to 4. And we have our Chipper Days or Chipperless Chipper Days on our website. The next one is June 10th, following July 8th, August 12th, and September 9th. So we are looking forward to as many folks in the Tiburon Belvedere Peninsula to bring whatever they can. Belvedere does have a drive-by curbside pickup going with Tony, he's the new Public Works Director, Boyd, thank you, Anthony Boyd. And that's very convenient for Belvedere. But anyone's in our 94920 is welcome to come down and just bring me everything you got, and I'll stack it up and get rid of it for you. So
Great public
yeah.
service. What do you do with all that stuff?
It all goes up to the county, and then they manage it.
What do they do with it?
They have a huge masticator that will just shred this stuff into little bits.
Big
and
chipper.
It's the monster chipper of all chippers. I think of it as like the what was the thing in Star Wars that was out in the desert that just eats everything? I really do. It's a fascinating machine. So yeah, they're great. They take it, and whether it's large rounds or just small limbs, it bring it up.
And is there any way they can sell that as ground cover or anything like that?
Well, actually, what they'll do is they'll offer it back to Belvedere and Tiburon Public Works. If they want the chips, they can get them for free and obviously use them on the center medians and other decorative spots. So I think Patrick Kerslake and Anthony Boyd do that. But I don't know. They can have it. Once they have it, it's theirs. So
Just get it out of here.
yeah, off the peninsula. Thank you.
All right, good. Any questions for Mike? Thank you, Mike, for all of your discussions on both issues. Okay, we'll go ahead with evacuation decal. We've been discussing this thing for 5 years now, Lori.
Yeah, and we're finally moving forward, which is wonderful. They have finished Tiburon. Tiburon is done. The evacuation decals are down. Tony Boyd has spoken to Mike Lantier, and Public Works is ready to go. They're just waiting for the final word from Robert Zadnick. I got an email from Tony Boyd, and they're about to start putting them down in Belvedere.
So we planned the locations and everything. That's
Yep.
all done? Okay.
Yep, so,
Once we get that done, can we ask the ARC to publicize this thing a little bit, the whole program as to what it's?
we hope to, yeah, we actually wrote up a press release, and we're gonna push it out as soon as we get Belvedere's down.
Good, great, thank you.
IJ would be good too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, the IJ did a great job with the Mill Valley one. I'm sure they would be on board.
I just want to say I'm very excited to see this happen. I want to thank Lori for her absolute tenacity.
Tiburon Fire.
And Tiburon Fire, but I know that you both worked so hard against many obstacles. So thank you very much for getting it done.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you for your perseverance. This has not been easy. All right, get ready, 94920.
I just wanted to mention that it is going to be happening again this year. We're going to have our second annual Get Ready to Go 94920. I hope to make it bigger and better. And so just be on the lookout, because I'll be asking for volunteers to step in with the planning, and I'll be making the same plea Adam did for participation from all of our different disaster resources out there and our volunteer groups that help in disasters. I'll be reaching out to everybody, including you guys.
When is that going to be?
I haven't picked the Saturday yet in October, but it'll be in October, probably the beginning of October.
Laura should get some attention for the Belvedere-Tiburon Library. Last week had a sustainability week with several different talks and things during the week. Laura, I think you started off with that.
I kicked it off with a Get Ready class,
It was,
and
yeah,
I had
it
the
was
best audience,
Great class.
best audience ever.
She was preaching to the choir. There were 4 of us there, I think. And Adam Gabser and I were 2 of them.
Well, that's two.
And Alice Fredericks, who was a repeat offender of the Get Ready class.
Oh, and Alice was there. Alice was there.
It was one of my favorite classes.
We just need to keep getting the
So-
community interested in this stuff, but that's.
And as long as we're on the Get Ready to Go 94920, just on the Get Ready front, we do have a Tiburon block captain group is getting together. One of our blocks in Tiburon is having a special Get Ready presentation just for their neighborhood. And that's going to be on June 4th in the afternoon following the Belvedere event. So it's going. It's just going slowly.
Good, thank you.
Shameless plug for the Get Ready 94920 on YouTube. We do have a very well produced and videoed Get Ready class that we did right at the beginning of the pandemic. And so if you have neighbors that haven't taken a class, it could not get easier. They can watch it right in the comfort of their own home. And I'm always available for follow-up questions afterwards. And I know we are getting close to out of time.
Where is it on YouTube? I remember you sent us the link when you did it.
And I can send a link again, but if you look up Get Ready 94920 or Tiburon Police Get Ready, it might have been tagged with the Tiburon Police because that's where we filmed it.
All right, questions about any of that? We are getting close to the end. Let me just make a couple comments about COVID. I see do you wear your mask all the time?
Not all the time, but inside. My mom is 90, and
Well, good for you. Most of us think COVID is over. It's not. There's still something like 250 people in this country every day dying from COVID. We do not have any more restrictions because globally, federally, state, and local restrictions have all been removed over the past week. It's still there, though. So if you get into a large crowd with many people, take heed of that. We have had a couple of instances here with the San Francisco Yacht Club annual meeting about a month ago, and this thing still crops up. So one word about xylazine. Anybody know what that is? That is a tranquilizer. You know, we have we have an overdose program in Marin County. Overdoses in Marin County, we had 60 deaths last year. A few of those due to intentional suicides, but the majority of them due to people experimenting with drugs and not knowing what they're taking and taking some fentanyl, which is extremely powerful narcotic. We're learning to deal with that. We're teaching classes on how to give Narcan. We're making Narcan available. Xylazine is not a narcotic. It is a sedative hypnotic that is extremely powerful, used by veterinarians and large animals. It mimics, however, narcotics in that it kills people by lowering their respiratory rate. So the very significant concern is it will not be relieved by the use of Narcan. So if we run into a victim that gets Narcan, does not improve, it is not a narcotic problem, it's some other issue, and we have to start thinking about xylazine. It is now appearing in our wastewater in Marin County. Yeah. So you're going to start hearing more and more about that. You're going to start hearing more and more about a resurgence of monkeypox that we had last year. That may now be an annual event. We don't know. We'll just play that by ear. And with that, any other comments from anybody?
I have one announcement real quick, just to let you know, we do have a couple of applications in to fill the Tiburon Disaster Council vacancy. So hopefully we will have a new face here in July at the next meeting, and spread the word because we're still looking for somebody from Belvedere.
I think Adam Gabser would be very excited about it, so I'll have to...
And I love that you like to volunteer, Adam.
Can we actually just appoint him before we ask him? No.
If he would be excited, I need to get an application into Belvedere City Hall. So
Okay.
go work your magic, Dr. Cromwell.
Good. All right.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Now that the decals are done, so to speak, are we going to talk about tsunami signs again?
Yes.
Or has that become the...
Oh, no. Let's talk.
We don't give up, Jamie.
No, we
Let's-
don't give up. But
Can we go ahead and adjourn this meeting so I can stop the recording and we'll talk?
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
so adjourned.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Finalize, and our meeting just